My son will inherit everything. My husband's affair baby will receive nothing. Emily, 5 years ago, my husband left me while I was 2 months pregnant with our second child. His co-worker Bethany was having his baby too. I found out when she sent me an ultrasound photo with upgrade written. Emith carried 3 days later. Moved in with her that same and mother-in-law Margaret, and all immediately. She told my ex he didn't wait into be car that she locked me thrin with carriage. We at her guest house and worked most week it while I regret my like. In far Hughes, she didn't wife met with Katie Miss me Libya Hayda. I remember best me post me my sus and Lydia by house and with her son Lucas. Up with that grandparent, she'd tag Margaret in post. Margaret would block her every time. My ex tried everything. He'd show up at holidays begging. He'd send letters. Nothing worked. Margaret told me once, my father left my mother for his secretary. I watched my childhood get destroyed. I won't reward my son for doing the same thing. Then I once ago Margaret get childhood with sex destroyed Kemptho. 6 months to doing this. Within a week, my ex and Daphne started visiting the hospital, bringing flowers, acting devastated. Daphne would cry about how she'd matured, how she understood Margaret's anger now that she was a mother herself. Margaret laid along, she'd smile weakly and thank them for coming. She even asked to see photos of their son. I was confused until she pulled me aside one day and whispered, I want them comfortable. I want them expecting everything. Over the next 2 months, Bethany got bolder. She started making comments. I was on the Hesme of dating. Oh, the guest stars will look at thing. I was cardi keyboard thing for rentals extra income. The next year, everyone's doing how they comments, but I hex Bethany I could look. Halfway through dinner, Nathaniel turned to Lucas and said, soon you'll have a real little brother to share grandma's big house with. Won't that be fun? Lucas, who's 5, looked at me confused. He said, but mommy, you said we live in grandma's guest house forever. Nathaniel smiled that fake sweet smile and said, well, things changed, sweetie. Your dad told me grandma's leaving everything to family, and now that we're all family again, we'll all share. I felt my blood go cold. I looked at Margaret and Faith was completely neutral. She just so plethy. I expelled the intro the fleet thing. Well, Molf but go jamas. Well, look go to Aragon, right? Mal Margaret has smiled. The intro that Mari actually heavily new to Margaret. She updated her will 2 weeks ago. She was just waiting for the right moment. The will was clear. Lucas inherits the main house, the guest house, and her entire estate valued at $2.3 million. I received $400,000 in a trust to maintain the properties until Lucas turns 18. Not a single cent to my ex. Margaret made sure the liar would call them exactly 1 week after her passing to read the will. She said, I want them to mourn appropriately, then get the shock of their lives. Yesterday morning, Margaret passed away peacefully with me and Lucas by her side. She held my hand and whispered, he'll know he was loved. That's all that matters. This morning, exactly 1 week later, with the lawyer called them, there wasn't there. Lemaya's best friend told me was happened. That's the next week of falling the battling in the ring. The wood is called much better, but the maid house will be theirs. But the liar, but the world there was happened. Then my ex sends springing with fate with money happened manipulated. I poisoned her against him, but the will wasn't legal. Bethany apparently grabbed the phone and cried about how unfair it was, how her son deserved to know his grandmother's legacy, how they'd been taking care of Margaret month. The lawyer's response was ice cold. Mrs. Margaret made this decision with sound mind, witnessed by 3 independent parties, and updated it 6 times over 2 years to ensure clarities and will be no contests. This call is simply a courtesy. They had not been outdated by exit over to guest times banging on the door. The concept, they screamed through the door, they had solving incoherencies. They nippity a dying woman that it's in a court. I found her the thing, opened the door and said one thing. Your mother loved you enough to try one last time. You failed her again. My ex left. This afternoon I got a text from Bethany, just 4 words. You'll regret this. I blocked her number. Tonight Lucas asked me why daddy was so angry. I told him the truth, that grandma loved him more than anything, that she made sure he'd always have a home. But some people can't understand this kind of love. He said, Emmy game. I said me too, baby, me too. I'm sending them all of his house in Hawaii. Lucas had sleep in the room. Margaret's that grandish for him with glow. This ex dies. The mom's wife, baby, will throw me to and beg me too. It's Bethany me to click out pictures of myself. It's very to Margaret. No, I'm adding more. Margaret got exactly what she wanted. Her grandson protected, her legacy intact, and her son finally understanding that actions have consequences.